MRG_live. Said. G. Dream elements. Said. MRG_live is now live. Streaming just chatting. Join Mr. G and the live class right now. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and donate. gx.network.live.
Hey, Mr. G.
Yes?
Why don't you put on that Mr. G shit?
Okay. Hey Google, pause face up.
Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G,
Welcome, driveway cam.
Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average
I was just adjusting my own driveway cam. Not really, but you get the picture.
Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G.
Detroit, Michigan.
Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr.
Hey Detroit,
aloha.
got a wonderful lesson planned for you guys today.
Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, G, G,
A minute till kickoff.
he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your
What's more exciting than Kansas?
IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, 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 Mr. G.
Hi, I'm Mr. G. Welcome to my class.
Today's lesson is about the great state of Kansas, Nebraska. Actually, Nebraska's no. Kansas.
Welcome. Aloha. Hey Google, play some Bach, please. How is everybody today?
YouTube music, you'll need one of the
Hey Google, play some Beethoven for me, please.
Playing Ludwig van Beethoven on Pandora.
I hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. If you're watching us live on YouTube, welcome. What if you're watching us live on Twitch? You're in early. And if you're watching us not live on YouTube, aloha. Click the thumbs up button, especially if you don't know who the hell I am. Definitely click the thumbs up and the subscribe button. If you're just interested about the state of Kansas, you're like writing a paper about Kansas or something, this is a good video for you because we're going to go over Kansas. And I'm going to go over it relatively quickly, too. My name is Mr.G. If you didn't know that already. My new Instagram I just put on the screen down there. And like I said, we'll get to learning here about the great state of Kansas. Now, up in the top left, top right corner of the screen, I have put the map of Kansas. Or excuse me, the flag of Kansas. The map of Kansas. All right.
Stream Elements.
Hey, Stream Elements.
The new merch is here, PogChamp. Check it out. https://merchage.streamelements.com/mrg_live.
Well, boys and
You may have
girls,
been scammed.
men and women,
Said.
Kansas became a
We aren't
state
in Kansas anymore.
under sus. We're not in Kansas anymore, right? Just like that's what they're known for. People around the world, they don't know every state in the United States, but many of them know about the state of Kansas because of The Wizard of Oz. And I do have some wonderful quotes from The Wizard of Oz and, a few nice interesting tidbits about that movie. It came out in 1939, the year of many great movies came out,
MR_Nicotino
including Gone with the Wind.
Said. Are you a farmer now?
No, it just says Farmer G because, I work in the garden almost every day. I have to force myself to take days
Help
off.
Mr. G with a donation through Stream Elements. https://streamelements.com/mrg.
But I am acquiring a piece of land to open and operate a farm/cat sanctuary at Nico, as I've been clear about. I was live on YouTube earlier. I know people like Nico, some of you watch YouTube, Shoshin watches YouTube, Cody watches YouTube. Also, we're not usually having class this early. We're slowly going to move the class time back. Slowly. So now the class time is about 2 o'clock. Next week it will be 2 o'clock Hawaii time. So that's 4 o'clock on the West Coast or 7 o'clock on the East Coast. And next week I'm going to try to move that back even further an hour to 1 o'clock. So then it would be a 3 o'clock class time on the West Coast and a 6 o'clock class time on the East Coast. And that's where we'll keep it for a while at 1 o'clock until we move it even further an hour earlier. But we're learning about Kansas today. I was talking about the Wizard of Oz movie. Everybody's heard the Scarecrow story of that movie, and also the Pink Floyd. Those are two cool things about the movie. It's one of the most watched movies of all time, and it's known as one of the best American movies. People around the world love this movie, and it's Kansas's claim to fame. It put Kansas on the map, literally, not really literally. I'll tell you a couple cool stories about it. There's a place in the movie where the original person that was going to play the Scarecrow, he didn't get the part, or he was fired because he was a drunk or something like that. But he snuck onto the set during filming and hung himself in the background. And if you watch the film, you can pause it on a particular spot and look in the background and you see the scarecrow hanging himself. I swear to God. It's kind of like the 3 Men and a Baby, you know, if you watch, like that movie was filmed in a particular New York City apartment, and 3 Men and a Baby, and a woman lived in that apartment with her son, and her son committed suicide in that apartment, or her son died, a little boy died in that apartment. And then while she was watching the movie in the theater, because she's like, oh, it's my apartment, I should see the movie. She's watching the movie in the theater, and all of a sudden she looks up and she sees her deceased son standing in the background, just like screaming or something, like, ah. And then she just gets up in the theater and she screams, she's like, ah, that's my baby, my son.
MR_Nicotino3.
Pretty scary, huh?
Said, how long did The Wizard of Oz take to film?
I don't know. How the hell would you not? I'm not full of everything. I don't know everything. I don't know. Let's ask Google. Hey, Google. How long did The Wizard of Oz take to film?
Here's what I understood from Wikipedia. Production began in October 1938 and lasted
Doc
6 months. Do you want a little more context?
Oh, no, that's enough.
MR.G.
Wow, Google was right on. It took 6 months, Nico. Hey, Aquarius. The production of the production of, what movie? Wait, fucking Dorothy.
Aquarists.
Wizard of Oz took 6
I
months.
finally got into my account.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Nicotino3.
Aloha on Twitch, Aquarius.
Long time.
That'd be cool if somebody came in the chat and they were named Dorothy, right? That sounds like something
Stream
JR would
elements.
say.
Said,
Anyways,
the new merch is here, PogChamp. Check it out. https
Kansas is a state. It was admitted to the Union in 1861 during some kind of strange times. Kansas has a big time rivalry with its neighbor Missouri. Missouri was a slave state, and Kansas was a free state supposedly. There was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and that's basically what made Kansas a state and Nebraska a state. And you hear the term bloody Kansas a lot. There was very brutal battles. There was a man named John Brown. We'll maybe touch on him. But I think he was voted like in Time magazine, because they had Time magazine way back then. Well, not during this time, but like 50 years later they had Time magazine. And towards the end of the century, he was voted Time magazine's most controversial person of the 19th century, which is the 1800s.
I want to visit Kansas. Nightwood said, you can send Mr. G, Moses, and
so John Brown was an abolitionist, but he was a crazy abolitionist that him and his warriors would break into slave owners' houses and murder slave owners and their families. He was one of the most controversial people of the 19th century, and I think we'll probably just leave it at that. A lot of people consider him a heroic figure because he was on the side of the abolition movement. So this was about 10-15 years before the Civil War, during what they call Bloody Kansas. And Bloody Kansas was a series of events during this time with the states of Kansas, Nebraska. I'm summing it all up here, okay? I'm not a historian, I'm just a smart guy, all right? So, Bloody Kansas, during this time, it was a prelude to the Civil War. There was a lot of battles, there were a lot of skirmishes, we don't need to get into details, but the 3 states involved were Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri. And all those states have had a bitter rivalry since then, because they had basically been at war. The football game between Kansas and Missouri, it's called, I think it's Civil War, but it's a big time rivalry. And also you have the city of Kansas City, Kansas, where my mom is actually from. My mom's from Kansas. So normally, I enjoy learning about every state, but when I was preparing for this state earlier today, I really enjoyed it because, like I said, my mom went to Kansas State, and she was from Kansas. So back to the bloody Kansas. So these 3 states were battling. Some of them were some of them were forced slavery, and some of them were abolitionists. The Kansas-Nebraska Act made Kansas and Nebraska a state, and it also put an imaginary line down the middle of the country where north of Kansas slavery was okay, and south, I mean, yeah, there was a line like Nebraska-Kansas line and slavery. But then that was changed during the Missouri Compromise. Missouri basically is where slavery ended. You know, you hear St. Louis, Missouri is the gateway state. Well, that's like it used to be the gateway to the West. You know?
That's it. MR_Nicotino3, hello.
And you want to know some more controversial things? Well, it's not really controversial, but I'll let you put your own. Well, I won't even mention that because it's a fact. But anyways, one of the most dangerous cities in the country is St. Louis, Missouri, hands down. You have a better chance of getting being the victim of a violent crime in St. Louis, Missouri than you do anywhere else in the United States. And the United States is a very violent country. As far as I've been to Kansas. I've been to like Lawrence, Kansas. I lived there for a little while. It was so boring. And Wichita Falls, Kansas is where I was at too. And they didn't even sell alcohol there. I know I'm all over the place. I'm giving a quick summary of Kansas at the beginning here. And then we're going to move on to more detailed discussion. But, so yeah, Kansas, it became a state because of slavery, you know, right before the Civil War. And the South wanted more slave states, and the Union, the North, wanted more free states. So there's that. Kansas City, where I've been to a few times, is halfway in Kansas and halfway in Missouri.
The new
the Kansas side is actually somewhat safe. The Kansas side of Kansas City has only 100, 200,000 people. The Kansas City, Missouri side is dangerous and one of the largest crime areas in the United States, similar to St. Louis, Missouri.
/MRG_live/tip.
Another thing that you guys are probably not aware of is we always try to bring up the Electoral College, especially since that's been in the news lately. And Kansas only has 4 or 5 electoral votes, similar to Hawaii. We only have 4 or 5. To put that in perspective, very few states have less than 4. Montana, I believe, has 3. Wyoming, I think, has 3. And Alaska has 3. Kansas is with the other states with 4, but its neighbor, its rival, Missouri, right next door, has something like 9 electoral votes. And that's pretty interesting. You know, it has more than twice the number of electoral votes as its rival state. Because when I think of Missouri, I don't think of big city, right? But you think about it, they have Kansas City, Missouri, and then they have St. Louis, Missouri. We're not learning about Missouri today. But, excuse me, they have more than twice the population of Kansas. And, you know, relatively the same size, too. So, you know, why do more people live in the Missouri? Why do more people live in Missouri? Why do more than twice the people live on the Kansas City, Missouri side of Kansas City instead of the Kansas City, Kansas side? There's much more crime on the Kansas City, Missouri side, but also all the major sports teams, the Royals, the Chiefs, etc., they also play on... We have out. Hey Google, play music. Hey Google, play Bach. Hey Google. Never mind. Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, so, hey Google, turn it down. So, the state of Kansas. Alright, so as you can see, this is the Kansas flag. And it says, ad astra per aspera. And what that means is, to the stars through difficulty. It's Latin. I think it's very pretty. That's an expression that, you know, I've known for a while, and I didn't know it was on that flag. That was another really interesting thing that we've learned today. Ad astra per aspera. It's a Latin phrase, like I said, it means to the stars through difficulty. There. Very pretty.
Looks like Oregon Trail.
It does. It looks like the Oregon Trail is supposed to represent Kansas in 1861. When Kansas first became a state. So we were talking about the rivalry between Kansas and Missouri. I'll just put up a graphic about that real quick. So like I said, a lot of states have rivalries. Oregon and Washington have a border rivalry. Texas, Oklahoma, border rivalry. But the difference between Kansas and Missouri is not only they share a major city in Kansas City, where the Kansas side of Kansas City has 152,000 people, but the Missouri side has 500,000 people, so like more than 3 times as much. But these different two states have actually been to war. They both became a state under the pretext of war. Are you going to be a slave state or are you going to be a free state? And to granted, Kansas was on the right side of history, were they not? Kansas, being against slavery. Well, actually, Nebraska, I guess, would be the North, because everything. I guess Kansas and Missouri. Yeah, Kansas was against slavery, despite being south of that imaginary line. Missouri was for slavery, and I don't know. It's a really complicated scenario there, so we're not going to touch too much onto that. Let's go into some lighter convert here. I'm going to put up a fun fact. So, actually, I'll just put up this big map. So this is the state that we're going to be studying today, Kansas. The class has been on for almost 28 minutes, so we need to get into things. So, everybody. So back to the lesson at hand. The state bird of Kansas is the freaking western meadowlark. Believe it or not. So I think that's like half of the states that we've covered so far. The state bird has been the western meadowlark. And I tried to figure out why briefly. I dedicated 5 minutes to this piece of shit bird, and only thing I could find out was it's a very popular songbird. So the reason it's the state bird of so many places is because it supposedly makes really nice music. I'm sorry for calling you a piece of shit bird. I'm sorry. That was just a joke at your expense. Okay? Anyways, the state flower, does anybody know? The state flower of Kansas is the sunflower. And this was always one of my mother's favorite flowers. I never really understood it, I thought it was just a big yellow flower. Her favorite color was yellow as well. But the state flower is the sunflower, and sunflowers supposedly grow wild all over Kansas, and people grow them in their yards too. So sunflower seeds are really popular. If you're going to get some, if you're going to drive through Kansas, stop at a roadside stand and get some fresh sunflower seeds. I'd recommend. All right. So once again, let's just go over the state seal again. The state seal of Kansas, it has, like I said, that Latin expression that I like a lot. Okay, so that expression is ad astra aspera. Ad astra aspera, to the stars with difficulty. A very pretty expression. And that is on the state seal as well. So Kansas, we were talking about the sunflower. Kansas, it's known as the sunflower state because, like I said, it became the sunflower state in 1903, and sunflowers grow wild there, and they're commonly purposely grown. Kansas is supposed to be the center of the United States. That's if you don't include Hawaii either. Lebanon, Kansas is supposed to be the center of the United States. Now, the name Kansas, it comes from the Native American Kaw people, also known as the Kansaw people. They frequented the Kansas area up to almost 12,000 years ago. Can you believe that? They were living in Kansas 12,000 years ago. There's been artifacts dug up and rock drawings and stuff of that nature. 12,000 years ago. To put that in perspective, Christ existed 2,000 years ago. So it's like 6 times as long as Christ. Like you could have to wait all the way 2,000 years from Christ and then go back another 10,000 years and people and Native Americans were growing wheat there. It means people of the wind because Kansas is a very windy spot. The windiest spot in the United States is a small town in Kansas. All right, one of my favorite parts of the movie, Gone with the Wind, is the quote, Dorothy, how can you talk if you haven't got a brain, she says to the Scarecrow. Scarecrow, I don't know, but some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they? Here's another quote I like from the movie. Experience is the only thing that brings knowledge, and the longer you're on Earth, the more experience you're sure to get. Here's another one. That's Dorothy. I really like this one by the Scarecrow here. I shall take the heart, for brains do not make one happy. And happiness is the best thing in the world. I guess I relate most to the Tin Man of any character. I think this is the last
Cody
one.
8804.
Hey Cody, I was just thinking about you.
Iowa.
Aloha, Cody. If we walk far enough, said Dorothy, I am sure we shall come to some place. Sometime come to some place. I think that was the last one. Let's see if we can get any more quotes here. Well, of course, this is said in Hawaii all the time because Hawaii is the place for rainbows. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Well, isn't that just lovely, guys? Well, I will take a sip of my lovely Pepsi Cola in honor of that beautiful quote from the beautiful movie Wizard of Oz.
Blood said, MRG, do you remember me? It's Ryan T.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry. Don't really remember. Anyways, back to the class. So, guys, in Kansas, I think it's either Lebanon, Kansas, there's actually a place where it's a museum based on the Wizard of Oz movie. And in this movie, it's called the Coronado Museum.
Cody 8804 said, do you like Wizard of Oz or Willy Wonka more?
Wizard of Oz. So the Coronado Museum in Kansas, you can actually visit, and somebody dedicated their entire life to making this museum. It has the regular actors, an actor that plays Dorothy, looks like the lion's a little cheap, but then they have Scarecrow, I see Tin Man in the background there, and they also have Dorothy's Yellow Brick Road, there's a lot of YouTube videos on this place, you know. So we're just gonna briefly go over it. There you see the yellow brick road. I think she actually lives in Dorothy, the actress that plays Dorothy, actually lives there. So here's another scene from the exhibit there. So yeah, if you're a really big fan of the movie, then you can go and check that out. But like I said, we're just going to touch on that briefly. I'm not a huge Wizard of Oz fan. It's a good movie. If you're going to watch a movie, that's probably a good movie. You know, my cat Moses loves Wizard of Oz, though. I put that on,
8804.
I think on last Christmas or something. And
Judy Garland is from Minnesota. She did not live there.
Oh, okay, that's a fun fact. But yeah, my cat loves the movie.
Said. And she was famous as a child.
Yeah, she was. She was a famous adult actress as well, too, wasn't she? So, the state animal of Kansas is the bison. We talked a little bit about a bison. Bisons have horns. Bisons have beards. Bisons are not buffalo.
Said.
Another interesting
thing.
The
new merch is here, PodChamp. Check it out. https://
yes, the new merch is here.
streamelements.com/mrg_live.
Another interesting thing about Kansas is during the Civil War, like I said, they had they played a big role in the Civil War, and everything previous to the Civil War, they lost more people in the Civil War than any other state. And the Civil War was America's bloodiest war by far. Hey Google, Volume 8. Hey Google, how many Americans died in the Civil War?
Here's what I understood from the website bbc.com. It has been accepted with a grain of salt that about 620,000 Americans died in the conflict. Do you want a little more context?
Yes. So like I said, more than 500,000 people died in the Civil War, and Kansas lost more lost more men than any other state. Yes, men, not women, because women didn't fight in the Civil War.
I don't understand.
I'm not talking to you. Anyways. Another thing about Kansas is they're known for women's rights. Kansas had the first woman mayor, which is actually a distant relative of mine. As you may know, like I mentioned, my mother's side of the family was from Kansas. And let me see. My mother's family was from Kansas, and a distant relative of mine was actually the first woman mayor in the United States. Her name was Suzanne Salter, and she was my mother's great aunt. But I went up and looked up the picture today, and it's kind of comical. I mean, it is a woman, but you can actually see, some resemblance there. So yeah, apparently I was the first woman mayor of a town in Kansas. So yeah, this is Suzanne Salter, a distant relative of mine. But it's funny, somebody sent me this, but there is a definite,
Help Mr. G with the
I mean, this is definitely a relative of mine, is it not?
https://streamelements.com/mrg_.
That looks like me.
OD8804. Said. Does have resemblance. Snow Sparks 39. Said. Spinning image. Snow Sparks 39. Dead. That's wild.
It is kind of weird, huh?
04. Said. Looks more like MCATs.
Okay, Connie. Alright, so continuing on with the lecture. Everybody, if you haven't checked out my new Instagram, it's on the screen. I'm trying to get, people to start a new Instagram for the hell of it. Okay, continuing with Kansas. Kansas has two major universities. Kansas University is most well known.
MRG, do you remember me?
No, I'm sorry. You're kind of familiar, Ely Souffle. Yeah, it's kind of familiar, but no, not really. Sorry. The two major universities in the state of Kansas are Kansas University, which is known for its stellar basketball program. I think Bill Self, Cody might know that. Well, Cody just follows fighting, not really other sports, but I think he's one of the top winning basketball coaches of all time.
Said. The new merch is here, PogChamp. Check it out. https://
Oh, hey, what was that?
StreamElements.com/MRG_live. Nightman. Said. You can send Mr.
The other major university is K-State University. And if you know about Mr. G, I like the color purple. My mom actually went to school here at K-State. And so I've always liked K-State. K-State used to be a football powerhouse back in the day. They're not known for their football teams very much anymore. They did have like one of the longest term head coaches and the oldest head coach as well. Up until a few years ago, he was a head coach up into his 80s or 90s. But I really like K-State. I like the colors, and they have a good quality school. They have just under the amount of students as University of Kansas. University of Kansas has 28,000 students, and K-State has 24,000. Like I said, University of Kansas is known for their NCAA championships, but they've only won 3 championships, and that's nothing compared to UCLA or
I only know boxing.
University of North Carolina.
Victor Ortiz is from Kansas. He is famous for headbutting Floyd Mayweather and then being knocked out in 2013.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Victor Ortiz.
Test.
Well, a lot of famous people are from Kansas. Speaking of sports, Bill Russell, famous Boston Celtic, legendary defender and championship player, was from Kansas. One of my mom's favorite players growing up, or one of her parents' favorite. She just knew him or something. I don't know. Maybe she had sex with him. I don't know. Anyways, Bill Russell was a legendary Boston Celtic, and he won so many more championships than his arch rival, Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain, the Los Angeles Laker, was all about showboating and highlights, and Bill Russell was all about wins and championships. Another famous, well, I don't know if it's a Kansas, what do you call somebody from Kansas? Hey Google, what do you call somebody from Kansas?
On the website moving.com, they say, people who live in Kansas are called Kansans and Jayhawkers.
Okay, so Kansans and Jayhawkers. So another famous Kansan or Jayhawker, besides my mother, is Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was a famous actor.
Chamberlain called me Mr. Perfect.
I think he passed away a little while ago. Wilt Chamberlain called me Mr. Perfect. Huh. So Dennis Hopper, I think he passed away. He was in a couple of my favorite movies. Easy Rider, movie I saw the first time I ever smoked pot back in the 90s. And then also he was in Speed. He was the bad guy in Speed. He was great in that movie. I saw that movie in the theaters when I was like 14 or 15. Hey Google.
That's a Koji, a main song. Wilt Chamberlain
Turn it down.
called me Mr. Perfect.
You ever?
Cody 8804.
Kurt Hennig?
Say.
Hey Google.
Blue Velvet.
Turn it down, please. So, I never seen Blue Velvet, but Dennis Hopper in Speed was great. I saw that movie when I was like 14, and Sandra Bullock had the short shorts on. And she was actually an Arizona Wildcat. Because we learned that Kansas State is the Kansas State Wildcats, but the other major school that's known as the Wildcats is Arizona. Arizona Wildcats. Hey Google, could you please turn that down? Hey Google, turn it down.
Said. Help Mr. G with the donation.
So, the Wildcats, Arizona Wildcats, I'm not sure, maybe Sandra Bullock's character maybe went to K-State. It's tough to tell the difference sometimes. But yeah, Dennis Hopper, also... Oh, did I not put that on the screen?
Where did Gucci Mane go to college?
I don't think Gucci Mane went to college. Okay? Not many convicted felons, you know, are college graduates. Hey Google, but with all due respect, we'll ask. Hey Google.
On class.
Hey Google, where did Gucci Mane go to college?
LMAO. Stream Elements. Said.
Gucci Mane attended
The new
Georgia
purchase
Perimeter
here,
College
Pop
and
Jam, check
McNair
it
High
out.
School.
Oh, okay. Hey Google. Volume 10. Hey Google. Where did Gucci Mane go to college?
Said.
Gucci Mane attended Georgia Perimeter College and McNair High School.
Hey Google. Repeat that.
37305, Honolulu, Hawaii, 9682.
Hey Google. Where did Gucci Mane go to college?
Gucci Mane attended Georgia Perimeter College and McNair High School.
Georgia Perimeter College and McNair High School. Hey Google. Volume 2. Dennis Hopper was in the Mario movie. He played Bowser. Yo. I just lost a lot of respect for him. Okay, anyways. So Dennis Hopper, also from Kansas. Let's move on. Another famous person from Kansas. The man, the I didn't kill my wife guy. Han Solo. AKA Harrison Ford is from Kansas. You know, his name used to be Harrison Chevy, but the studio made him change it. Not really, no. But yeah, Harrison Ford, also Kansas. He's a Jayhawker. Isn't that messed up? Here's a bigger picture of his smug face. You know they're making a new Indiana Jones? And Shia LaBeouf was like, I'm on board. And they were like, no, you're not. That was a joke, guys. That was pretty funny, because Shia LaBeouf ruined the last Indiana Jones movie, right? He's a fucking sucks. Okay. Moving on. What else? Well, we touched on the flag a little bit. Now, if you take anything from this lecture, if you put anything in the memory vault, you know, everybody has a vault. You know, so each class that you go to, it's up to you if you want to remember something from that class. You know, going through college, one disrespectful thing that I heard over and over was, oh, once you graduate, you're just going to forget everything. And I was like, no, I'm paying a lot of money for this. I'm not going to forget this. I'm going to remember lots of this information. Why not? It's not like it hurts. What, does it hurt my brain muscle? No, it doesn't. It's easy. People act like learning is hard. Learning is not hard, and it's free. So many times in my life, I didn't have money. Growing up, I didn't have toys, but the library, free. Books, free. Learning, free. And guess what? It does come in handy. Knowing things, being knowledgeable. Anyways, the point of that, what I was saying that is, if you're going to take anything from this lecture, it's the Latin phrase, ad astra espera, ad astra per espera, which means to the stars, through any difficulty, I can do it. Ad astra espera. Okay? I'll say it with me, guys. Add, A-D. Shit, I gotta erase all
Bone
this.
class. Set. AD Astra is
Hey, Bone Clanks. Thank you for saying that with us, the class. So this is the state motto of Kansas. Kansas may not have a lot going for it. You know what does it, do they? But like I said, if you're going to take anything from this lecture, it's a state motto of Kansas, which is ad astra per aspera. Ad astra per aspera. Ad astra per aspera.
Bone class. Set. 6 Semper Tyrannies. Scream elements. Death. The new merch is here, PopChamp, check it out. https://merch.com/streamelements.com/org_live.
Ad astra per aspera. Through the stars, through any difficulty. Ad astra per astera. So astra means stars, and aspera is difficulty. Ad, you think of stars, astro, astronomy. Ad astra per sperma. So we go. Let's let it dry for a minute. Ad astra per aspera. Okay, continuing with the lecture. Another famous person from Kansas is Ike. You guys like Ike? Huh? If you're watching this on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. But don't do it for me. Do it for Ike. Like Ike. So Dwight D. Eisenhower, he was the president between 1946 and 1952. Wait. Between 1944 and 1952? Am I that fucking smart? Like, seriously, you can just put a picture of Dwight Eisenhower and I can be like, oh, Ike! I like Ike! That was his campaign slogan, by the way. But I'm pretty sure he was president between 1944 and 1952. Hey Google, see if I'm right. When was Dwight Eisenhower president?
Bone class. Set. In office January 20th, 1953 to January 20th, 1960.
I'm never wrong. Okay, I was off by a year. Well, no, I was right, basically. I mean, that's basically right. Okay, he was from Kansas.
Bone class. Set.
He was...
It's all good.
Well, he was president in 1950, and that's a date that I tend to go back to a lot. You get that? Time travel joke? Never mind.
Diamond.
That joke was just for me and the government
With
experiments.
the donation through Stream Elements. https://
Okay, yeah, July 2nd, 1950. That's a date that I usually send me back to. Okay, anyways, back to the lesson here. So Dwight Eisenhower, he was from Kansas. Kansas, it's not for me. I did stay there a little while, like I said. My mother was from there. And I like Dorothy. We'll go with just a couple more people from Kansas. Al Gore was from Kansas. He was a presidential nominee against Bill Clinton in 1996. And guess what? You don't need to fucking look that up. All right? He ran against Bill Clinton in 1996 because I remember that. And I remember that was the first time I went to Austin, Texas, which I would end up living in for over 10 years. But we went to this awesome restaurant, me, Michael, and John Ornalis, my newspaper boss.
Said, you can send
We went to this nice, pretty expensive restaurant. Then we snuck into the Byrds concert, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Honolulu, Hawaii,
And we were backstage with David Crosby, the guy with the beard, and I don't even know who Nash is, really. David Crosby, Stephen Stills, I don't really know who that is either. But I guess they were original members of the Byrds rock group. But anyways, I was talking about Al Gore, not Al Gore, Bob Dole at the freaking dinner. Because our boss, this was in 1996, so I was 15, 16 years old. But we were at the restaurant and our boss would buy us alcohol. He would buy me alcohol at least. And so I was drinking a little bit, and as you know, I get kind of stupid when I drink and say ridiculous things. And I wanted to sound like I knew a lot about politics. So I was telling John Ornalis, our newspaper boss, which was like a father figure, and I respected him a lot of the time. I was like, yeah, Bob Dole's going to win because, did I put Al Gore on the thing? I did, I put Al Gore on the thing. Anyways, Bob Dole's going to win because Bob Dole is, he's going to send people to prison for marijuana and stuff. That was like my main interest, my only interest at the time. Anyway, moving on. Al Gore's not from Kansas. Bob Dole is. The last person that's from Kansas and also is well known here in Hawaii is Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart went missing. She's the first woman to complete a transatlantic flight. And she was a well-known public figure at the time. Had her face on the cover of many magazines and newspapers at the beginning of the 20th century. And then she all of a sudden vanished during her trip around the world. The last place that she was seen was here in Honolulu, Hawaii. And you can actually see where she planted a tree. There's an Amelia Earhart tree, bamboo tree that she planted.
Bob Dole, LMAO.
Okay, well, you caught that joke. Yes, Bob Dole. So Amelia Earhart, is very well known in Hawaii, and there's a few different spots dedicated to her. Like I said, she planted a tree, and she also put her hands in cement somewhere on a sidewalk here or something like that. And it's looking back, it's kind of sad because this was one of her last places that she lived. Some people think that she crashed on a deserted island in the Pacific and met the fate of cannibals. Possible, a lot of mysteries. I think maybe they discovered some of her bones on an island. But, you can't believe anything really now. So, moving on. So those are some famous people from Kansas. Like I said, Kansas is the sunflower state. And, the sunflower, it's a pretty interesting. The sunflower is the only flower with flower in its name. The sunflower is the official flower of Kansas. From sunrise to sunset, sunflowers track the sun. That's why they're called sunflowers. They move wherever the sun's at. And you know me, I like plants. I'm actually planting some sunflowers right now. I just ordered the seeds. There are about 70 species of sunflowers. You can get them very small, you can get them very large. Sunflowers typically grow between 5 and 12 feet tall. Typically in every farm, you have a sunflower on each row a lot of times for good luck. And they just look really nice and they grow really easily. They're really magic flowers. I really like them. Each sunflower can contain as many 1,000 to 2,000 seeds. So, yes, it's a sunflower state, and I've been doing this little research here. I've really had some more, I like the sunflower a lot more than I did. Back when my mother used to grow sunflowers, I didn't nearly like them as much. Now that she's not with us, and I respect sunflowers a lot more. So, Kansas also grows a lot of corn. They're 4th or 5th in corn production in the United States. There are more than 4,000 different uses for corn products. Some corn can grow over 10 feet high. Right now I have a lot of different corn growing on my patio, and that's Keanu's favorite plant. He loves the corn. A bushel of corn will sweeten more than 400 cans of Coca-Cola. Wow. Because they, take the artificial sugar from it, I guess. An ear of corn averages 800 kernels in 16 rows. Ton of paper uses 28 pounds of cornstarch. 100 bushels of corn produces approximately 7,280,000 kernels. Wow, just off of 100 bushels. I have a few bushels in the backyard growing right now. All right, so let's just go over a few more state facts while we have the screen up here, guys. So, state fun fact. At one time, Kansas was against the law to serve ice cream on cherry pie. Another fun fact. Smith County is the geographical center of the 48 contiguous United States. If you include Hawaii and Alaska, then the center of the United States is somewhere in North Dakota. State fun fact. Amelia Earhart, first woman granted a pilot's license by the National Aeronautics Association and the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, was from Atkinson, Kansas. Dwight D. Eisenhower was from Abilene, Kansas, and he was the 35th President of the United States. So one more fun fact. Wyatt Earp, a.k.a. James Butler, Wild Bill Hickok, and William Masterman were 3 of the legendary lawmen who kept the peace in rowdy towns like Abilene, Dodge City, Ellsworth, Hayes, and Wichita, Kansas. Because during this time, I remind you guys, Kansas was the 34th state. This was in the 1860s. So pre-Civil War and just post-Civil War, Kansas was the West. When you left the East, you went to the Wild West. It started in Kansas.
Hell yeah.
So another fun fact, the Arkansas River may be the only river whose pronunciation changes as it crosses state lines. In Kansas, it is called the Arkansas. On both sides of Kansas, Colorado, and Oklahoma, it is called the Arkansas. The Arkansas River or the Arkansas River. Interesting, huh? Fun stuff, right, guys? We're learning all about Kansas, and I'm going Kansas crazy. Save me, Dorothy. Save me. Or not. Dorothy, where'd you go? Dorothy, you're so pretty. I'll walk the yellow brick road with you any day of the week, Dorothy. Google. Hey Google. Volume 2. Hey Google. Never mind. So right now, guys, we're going to play the state song of Kansas. Actually, we're not. We're not going to play it right now. I want you guys to know the Latin phrase. Do you guys remember? Well, do you remember stars in Latin, similar to astronomy? Astra. Yeah, astra means stars. So ad means to in Latin. Ad astra. To the stars. Ad astra. Per aspera.
Said. Estrada.
Right, Bone Clinks. And also, what is the word for tired in Spanish? Cansado? Okay, that's not relative. But difficulty. Difficulty is difícil. Well, we're learning Latin, not Spanish. So, but there's a word in Spanish that's similar. Anyways, espera means difficulty. So, to astra per espero. So, to the stars through difficulty, right? So to is ad. Astra. Ad astra. Per, similar to the Spanish por, means with. So per. And what is difficulty? Aspera. Ad astra per aspera. To the stars with difficulty. Everybody say it with me. And I'm not kidding either. I want you to say it with me. Say it with me at home. Ad astra per aspera. Ad astra per aspera.
Class. Z. Ad astra per aspera.
I don't want to confuse you with the exclamation point. Okay, good bone clunks. Once more. Ad astra per
Class.
aspera.
Z. Ad astra per aspera.
Good, good. Everybody follow Bone Clunk's lead. Ad astra per aspera. Now let's say it in English. To the stars
Z.
through difficulty.
Hi, Mr. G.
Hey,
Quick check-in before
Mrs.
having
J.
to begin.
aloha. Everybody wishes Mrs. J a happy anniversary, class. It's Mrs. J's anniversary.
Ad astra per aspera.
Hello, Mrs. J. Mrs. J is the #1 teaching assistant for Mr. G's class here. And today, she's actually off today because it's her anniversary. So everybody wish Mrs. J a happy anniversary. And Mrs. J, you're definitely ad astra per aspera.
Heart you all.
See, when Mrs. J's really into cycling too. And so she's, this is a very good expression when you're working out. Ad astra per aspera. Because everybody knows nothing easy comes without difficulty, right?
To the stars though difficulty.
To the stars through difficulty. Great bone clinks. Ad astra per aspera. Ad astra per aspera.
Heck yeah, Mr. G.
Thank you. So the best thing to take from this lecture is the state motto of Kansas. Kansas may not have a lot of things going for it, but they got this. And once again, another lesson in life, nothing good is handed to you. There's certain chemicals in the brain, certain endomorphins in the brain. Now, if somebody goes and gives you $1 million, it's like, oh, you know, you get a few of those endorphins, right? But if you go out and you work for $1 million and you earn $1 million through hard work, through your own art or through your own muscle or through your own brain, then you get 1,000,000 times more of those little endorphins swimming in your brain. So it's 1,000,000 times better.
Where's J. Femur made? Z. Ad astra per aspera.
Ad astra per aspera. Exactly, Mrs. J. So that's something to take, and it's a fact. And you can even break it down to when you've worked all day and you sit down to a nice meal, it tastes so much better than you know, somebody's just giving you a bunch of pizza or something. You know, when you work for something, it means a lot more than if you just went out and had it given to you or took it, you know, nefariously. So yeah, ad astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulty. All right, covering a few more things. The state capital of Kansas is Topeka, Kansas. It's a small state capital, only 129,000 people. Once again, you would think the largest city in Kansas is Kansas City. I should have talked about this when we were talking about the Electoral College. But no, Kansas City is a big city on the Missouri side. On the Missouri side, there's almost 500,000 people. On the Kansas side of Kansas City, no, they don't even sell alcohol over there really. And there's only like 100, 200,000 people. It's kind of like small town over there. There's a lot less crime, so much less crime on the Kansas side of Kansas City than on the Missouri side of Kansas City. So even the Kansas City side of Kansas City isn't the top city in Kansas. Even Topeka, Kansas, the capital, that's not the top city of Kansas. If I'm not mistaken, Wichita, Kansas is the largest, and I'm not mistaken usually. But why do I even say I'm mistaken if I'm not mistaken? I'm sure Wichita, Kansas is the largest freaking city in Kansas. And if you don't believe me, we'll ask Google. Hey Google, what's the largest city? Hey Google, never mind. Hey Google, volume 10. Hey Google, what's the largest city in Kansas?
Kansas's largest city is Wichita.
Said.
Okay.
Mr. G always knows. He is right. Bone class. Said. Wichita for the win. Stream elements. Said. The new merch is here. Pop chat, check it out. https://merch.
Lucky, come and dance with me, Lucky.
/MRG_live.
Lucky,
Where's Jake?
Lucky. Come here, Lucky. Lucky, dance with me.
Join Mr. G's Discord. https://discord.gg/dpqfgraz.
Hey, Colin.
Where's Jake Beamerman? Tip. Lucky is a beautiful cat.
Oh, we got Colin. Oh.
Tip. MRG_I love cats like you do. Tip. Help Mr. G with the donation for screen elements. https://screenelements.com/MRG_live/tip. Where's Jake Beamerman? Tip.
Oh my God.
Glycosis with lithium.
Oh my God, Colin can't go out here now. Oh my God, I'm a lot of you, Lord. I love you. Yeah, Lord, I'm a good kid. We like things. Good boy.
Phone class. Tip.
Hey Google,
Hello. Kid.
volume 2. Alright guys, continuing with the lecture. How long have we been live here? An hour and 15 minutes, so we got to wrap things up in the next 10 to 15 minutes. A couple more things about Kansas. You guys heard about Brown versus Board of Education. Yeah, that happened in Kansas. Sorry, I had a little gas from the soda there. What else? We talked about the first woman mayor, distant relative of Mr. G's, Suzanne Salter. Like I said, my mother's side is from Kansas. Kansas was a really old state, man. It's 1860, it was the 34th state, so as we're moving east, the states are becoming more and more older. So Kansas is the first state that appears during the lecture that became a state pre-Civil War. Every other state that we've studied so far has been post-Civil War. And that would make sense considering, we're going west to east. So on the map there. So as you can see, excuse me, we've done these states. This is Kansas right here. And as we're going further east, South Dakota, North Dakota, these northern states, those were territories. So was Nebraska. Kansas became, adjust the light here a bit. Kansas became a state before all these other states, including, with the exception of California. And it didn't miss California by a lot. The reason California became a state so quickly was because of gold. And also, similar to Hawaii, they did the same thing with California. When the United States government, the federal government, discovered California, they're like, wow, this place is really good. We have to keep this place. Let's make it a state. Let's make it a union state, a free state. And this state and their gold is going to compete with the wealth of the Deep South. Because during this time, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the South was where all the money was. Why? Because they had free labor and they produced a lot of cotton. They produced the world's largest amount of cotton right here in the Deep South. And like I said, they have free labor too.
Ted. Land. Iceman 2819. Said. Canada is huge. Wow.
Canada is. Canada is larger than the United States if you don't count Alaska. If you count Alaska, then the United States is bigger. Alaska is so big, you can fit 2 Texases. You can cut Alaska in half, and Texas would still be the 3rd biggest state. The first 2 would be Alaska 1 and Alaska 2.
Ted.
Alaska was the smartest purchase ever made by the United States. But we're not studying Alaska right now. We're wrapping up Hawaii, I mean not Hawaii.
_live.
We're wrapping up Kansas.
Iceman 2819. Said. They took kale from Mexico.
Yeah.
Own class.
Kansas was actually part of the Louisiana Purchase.
Alaska is massive.
The gold in the Kansas flag represents the Louisiana Purchase. The Louisiana Purchase, the reason they bought it was for all the gold discovered in the West. Also, we went over ad aspero per astra. No, excuse me, ad astra per aspero. Lo siento, señor. Ad astra per aspero is also on the flag. What else? See, I don't want to say what else. That's something a teacher should never say. What else? Tomorrow's state, just a heads up, is going to be Oklahoma. And then we're going to end the week on Thursday and Friday with the state of Texas. I think I'll give Texas 2 days. Or maybe we'll just give it 1 day. Fuck it. Every state gets 1 day. We'll do a different state on Friday. We'll do Missouri.
What's the most important state in America?
Hawaii.
Mr.G Themer made. Said.
Well,
sounds good.
The most important state. Thanks, Mrs. J.
Said. Don't say you're never supposed to say something.
You're right. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to be going over Oklahoma. So we'll wrap up Kansas here. What else? We went over the state capital, Topeka. Its largest city, believe it or not, is Wichita. What else? It's part of the Louisiana Purchase.
You're a great teacher.
Thank you, Bone Clucks.
Bone class. Said. An educator.
Thank you. So Kansas is 4th in the United States in tornadoes. I know they're known for tornadoes because of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, but they're actually 4th in the United States for tornadoes. What else? The 2 largest cities in Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, and Topeka is the capital, and Wichita, they're only separated by a 2-hour drive by about 120 miles. So the 2 biggest cities are relatively close to each other. Like I said, they had the most deaths during the Civil War. They had a very important role in the Civil War. The entire population of Kansas is relatively small, similar to the population of Hawaii, around 2 million. Its neighbors right next to it, Missouri, have more than 3 times as people, 6 million. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It's not something that I would normally consider, because I consider Missouri a smaller state, but it actually has 3 times the amount of people as Kansas. And then I looked at Kansas City, the majority of the people in Kansas City live on the Missouri side. And also they have another huge city, which is St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri is almost to Chicago. Chicago is you have a 50% chance of getting shot every day, basically, So, there's a big difference, and you can see where the crime starts, really. 2/3 of the United States population live on the East Coast, and 2/3 of the crime is on the East Coast. Fun fact, you know they pay truck drivers almost twice as much to drive to the East Coast than they do to the Western states. You know why? Because it's fucking dangerous as hell driving an 18-wheeler through Philadelphia and Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Because people will jump on your truck with guns and shoot you for your 18-wheeler stuff. But let's not get on a tangent here. This is a family-friendly class about states. However, we're learning about the geographical makeup of the... We're learning about geography here. This is a fucking geography class. And I'll tell you, 2/3 of the country lives on the East Coast, and it's one of the most dangerous parts of the United States as well. But it's also the largest economy in the world, the United States.
19.
With the largest military in
Have
the
you
world.
ever taken any astrophysics courses?
No, my science curriculum was geology. We had to choose a particular science to go into. I initially went with astronomy.
Stream elements.
So you pick a science section, whether astronomy, chemistry, geology, and then you take classes related to that particular science major. So when I had to choose, I initially went with astronomy.
Help Mr. G
But after the first astronomy class, seeing how much math was required at the University of Texas in particular, I decided it wasn't in my best interest to get those astronomy credits. So instead I took a geology course load, and so I took many courses relating towards geology. But I also took some geography courses just for fun. I've always enjoyed maps. And, I've really enjoyed fun facts and maps. So like I said, it's something I enjoy sharing and learning on an everyday basis. If you want to be a good teacher, then you really have to be good at learning. Or you really have to just enjoy learning. Hey Google, turn it up. Hey Google, play that from the beginning. Because if I'm doing this Monday through Friday, hey Google, volume 5. So I'm doing this Monday through Friday. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do it something that I enjoy. I'm going to make sure that I have passion with this. Because if I don't, then you can tell. Yesterday's class, it was okay. New Mexico, one of my favorite states, but I didn't have passion for it. Today, I really wanted to learn about Kansas, and I wanted to teach about Kansas. So I am Mr. G. That's my name. I am the teacher here, but think of me more as like a guide, because I'm also learning as well. I'm like just driving the bus, and together, I'm guiding us through this experience of learning about every single state and learning about every single country. So if you watch me every weekday for an hour a day, and if you did that every single class and you attend every single class, guess what? By the time we're at Alaska, the 50th state, you're going to know so much about the United States that you're not even going to realize how much you know about the United States. But it's going to come up because the United States is a very popular place. And Kansas is going to come up. And certain things are going to come up. And you're going to be like, oh, I learned that in Mr. G's class. Oh, I actually learned that Kansas's state flower is the sunflower. So next time I see a sunflower, I can say, that's Kansas's state flower, right? And they can be like, shut the fuck up. Or they can be like, okay, cool. You can learn that Kansas City, Kansas is a relatively, has very few people, like less than 200,000 people. You learn that Kansas City, Missouri has 500,000 people. You learned the capital of Kansas is Topeka. And you learned that its largest city is Wichita. You learned about the flag of Kansas. You learned about the University of Kansas, Kansas University. You learned that bison have horns and also beards. Bison is the state animal of Kansas. You learned a lot. Kansas played a big part during the Civil War. They lost more soldiers than any other state. Even 10 years before the Civil War, we heard of bloody Kansas, battles between Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska. Most of the times, not including the Civil War, states don't normally go and fight with each other. This is a rare occasion where states actually went to war. You know, if that's not a rivalry, then I don't know what is. I'm sure Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA, they got their little crosstown rivalry. But Missouri, Kansas, that literally went to war. So, I mean, that's a rivalry, right? Also, the most important thing that we learned today is ad astra aspera.
Said, you can send Mr. G, Moses, and Keanu packages to 1170 Nuuanu Avenue, PO Box
Ad
3730.
astra per aspera. You don't have to say the per. But ad astra per aspera. To, ad means to, astra, stars, per means with, aspera means difficulty. Ad astra per aspera. To the stars with difficulty. Anything worth doing, it's got to be a challenge. I wouldn't have wanted to write my first book if it wasn't as hard as it was. So ad astra per aspera.
On class. Said, ad astra per aspera.
Thank you. You're getting it, Bone Punks. All right, guys. We had a wonderful lecture today.
Stream elements. Said, the new merch is here.
I'm going to go ahead and end it with the Kansas State song. And we'll look at some of the most famous pictures of Kansas. And once again, tomorrow's class is on Oklahoma.
Awesome job, Mr. G.
If you're watching, thank you, Mrs. J. Shout out. If you're watching this on YouTube and you don't know who I am, I go live on Twitch every day. This is also part of a playlist, so if you want to find your state, check out the playlist. I think this is the 10th or 11th state that we've done. We'll finish every state within a matter of 4 or 5 weeks. So if you're watching this on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and also look for your own state or whatever state you're looking for. Don't forget to check us out live on Twitch, Monday through Friday. I also go live on YouTube here in Hawaii just to do some outside fun stuff, to go to lunch and walk to the beach and this and that. I do have some field trips planned well. I have 2 YouTube channels, popular YouTube channels. Make sure to check those out.
We lit to the stars, though difficulty.
Exactly. All right, guys. We're running low on power here, so I'm going to go ahead and start up the state song of Kansas. And I'll see all you guys in class tomorrow. Everybody have a good afternoon, or evening, or morning, wherever you guys are at.
Where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the sky is not cloudy all day. Where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the sky is not clouded all day. Oh, give me a land where the bright diamond sand throws its light from the glittering stream, where glideth along the graceful white swan, like the maid in her heavenly dream. A home, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the sky is not clouded all day. Oh, give me the gale of the Solomon Vale, where the light streams with buoyancy
of a twinkling star. Have I stood here amazed and asked as I gaze if their glory exceed that of ours?
Hey guys, thanks everybody. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the Kansas lecture. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. Well, a little bit earlier in the next coming classes, but join us tomorrow for the state of Oklahoma. Thank you so much. Happy anniversary, Mrs. J, from here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and for Moses, Keanu, Peaches, Old Timer, and Lucky, and Meow Meow, One Eyed, and all the others. Aloha, everybody. Hold your loved ones tight, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night, everybody. Shoots.